This is in regard to prophecy or prophetic dreams. So if this is something that either irritates you, annoys you, of just the sound of anything spiritual, you might want to keep it moving. Now that those people are gone, some may be still around. All right, so let's get into this prophetic dream that I had. And I've been reluctant of sharing these prophetic dreams, but I feel as if Holy Spirit has been urging me to share these dreams for whatever reason. And so here it goes. All right, so I had this dream where I was literally traveling through the Grand Canyon, and I was going very super fast. I was in a vehicle. I wasn't driving, but I was like going through this Grand Canyon. Keep in mind that a couple of years ago, I lived in Arizona. Actually, not very long, but I lived in Arizona. So just bookmarked that there. So as I'm traveling very fast in this Grand Canyon, it became like very luminous, like very, it just started illuminating, like glowing the walls on each side of, for some reason, just traveling through this Grand Canyon. And then I went traveled into this cave-like structure, and on both sides, all around me, were these sculptures, these huge statues of these ancient Kemetic statues or ancient Egyptian statues. But they were moving slowly, but they were very luminous, like they were glowing, and they had gold all encrusted on them. And one was over me, I was afraid in a dream to open my eyes and look. It was just so bright, and it just the energy felt so powerful. Even retelling this is a bit intimidating, but Spirit just wanted me to share this with some of you. And so as I kept going through, something was telling me, telepathically telling me to open my eyes and look. And it was this huge, big presence of what Spirit is saying was Amenhotep. All right. And so he was very huge, and he was covered in gold. And it's he was forcing me to make eye contact with me. And, I was afraid to open my eyes, but he telepathically told me to open my eyes and look. And I looked at him, and he said that Kemet is in America. And he said Egypt is, in my mind, I was thinking did I hear that correctly? And he corrected it. Then he said Egypt is in America, as if I didn't understand what Kemet meant. So that is another aspect. Stay tuned for part 2. So I was in disbelief. This energy, this presence of this huge statue that looked to be Amenhotep, I hope I'm saying that correctly, was very it just felt literally it took my breath away to even look at it. But after he said Kemet is in America, then again, like I said, I second guessed what I heard. In my mind, I was thinking did I hear that correctly? Then he repeated that Egypt is in America, as if I didn't. And then when I looked down, there was a statue of a feminine form, a goddess of some sort, and she was just there. She was just resting. So when I'm picking up from this prophetic dream, because right after that I awoken. So from what I'm picking up from this prophetic dream for me is that there has been a lot of people circulating information in regard to the findings in the Grand Canyon, or the findings throughout all of America. And to me, it's giving so much more insight into the fact that according to Pangea, and literally we were all just one huge landmass at one point, and it definitely makes sense. And many of us have been literally trying to connect more so with our lineage, just discovering stronger of our culture and who we are. And this definitely gave insight into this dream, into Amenhotep, speaking of Kemet being here, as well as Africa too. But it definitely was a startling dream. So I don't know, this could mean something for someone. But again, there was a definite significance with him being in this standing position and being very powerful and strong and with all gold on. And then the feminine aspect, or I'm not sure if that's his wife, Nefertari, whoever, but she was like laying down and just resting. So this could be in the form of the masculine energy rising so that the divine feminine energy can get into a state of resting. I'm definitely picking up there's a sense of balance coming into play. And the reason the dream had both the masculine and the feminine, it just definitely is giving to me so much confirmation into the fact that there is a restoration coming into this earth now of the masculine and the feminine. And although there's a reverence for the masculine, there's still a reverence for the feminine too. There's a balance that's coming into play. My yacht is being restored. Take it as it resonates. If not, leave it behind. As I follow up in regarding to this prophetic dream regarding the Grand Canyon in Arizona, I know that there's a lot of spiritual energy in Arizona, despite the obvious tension there in regard to race relations. If you can ignore that to the best of your ability, there are a lot of gems there in regard to what's there with nature, a lot of the areas that have been preserved when it comes to the tribes that are still there. What also came to mind too is while being there, being in nature, I just definitely felt a heavily, wow, I didn't even mean to say heavenly, but it literally is like, if you are fortunate enough to get into the desert, they're very well kept, and I felt like a heavenly presence there. And even in the midst of those that try to make your day awful, because some people just go out of their way to try to bring disharmony to you, but that's their personal problem. But while being there, I literally felt it was a godsend, because even if you notice a lot of the landmarks, or even again, there's a lot of angel numbers there too on everything. These things are man-made, but I do notice that they still try to keep a lot of the spiritual connection there with how they name different landmarks and things. So I kept noticing the name Sahu. All right. And then when I began looking into it, I already knew that sound familiar coming from Kemetic culture. Sahu represents the spirit energy, the breath of life, but also Sahu when it comes to, and let me see if I'm saying this right, but when it comes to the Hopi prophecies with the Hopi tribe, when they say Sahu, it is like a similar type of meaning. So there's a lot of correlation, and the mere fact that I kept seeing things about Queen of Sheba, like there will be restaurants called Queen of Sheba restaurants, or I kept seeing a lot of references towards Egyptian culture, towards Buddhism. Like a lot of these things correlate. And so at first, before I moved there, I did not understand, like, okay, I was just thinking like this was an opportunity, to relocate and to see the West Coast, to experience the West Coast, but it was much more spiritual than I had anticipated. And it definitely gave me insight with having these dream confirmations, these prophetic dreams, into the fact that balance and harmony is happening on earth now for the masculine and feminine.